Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Grade 1 stakes action at the Spa on Saturday. It's the Fourstardave Handicap going 1 mile on the inner turf. Some really nice turf horses. Of course, Chad Brown is very well represented. Before we get to the analysis, let me remind you to head on over to the DRF Saratoga Handicapping Shop, where you'll find PPs, picks, clocker reports, betting strategies, and all the must-have tools to win big at Saratoga. Learn more at drf.com/spa. Here's the field for the Fourstardave Handicap, named after the Sultan of Saratoga, the Baron of Ballston Spa. Mike, you never liked Fourstardave.
Says who? Don't go casting aspersions on me. I will admit that I liked his little brother maybe a little bit better, but I loved Fourstardave.
This is a really nice field, and it certainly does Fourstardave memory proud. Raging Bull 5-2 on the morning line for Chad Brown, 3-1 on Uni. Chad Brown 4-1 without parole. Chad Brown valid point 12-1. Chad Brown. I think Chad's kind of got this field pretty well circled.
Yeah, I guess you still do have to figure out which one you like better and which one's going to win. But it does sort of feel like when all is said and done, he's going to have the three favorites in here. And I don't know about you, Dan, but they weren't that easy to separate for me.
Well, let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. Maybe we'll get a better idea of where everybody will be in the early portion of this race. We see the 4 got Stormy. She has early speed. I'm not sure she's at the level of her form last year when she ran so big in winning this race against the boys. I think Halliday has to make the lead. They conceded last time. It didn't work out. Listen, Halliday may not be good enough to win this race, but I think Halliday's making the front.
I don't disagree with that. I think they are going to try to make the lead with him this time. They almost have to and just see what happens. And you're right. I don't know if he's good enough to beat this field either, but he is not going to beat them if he doesn't make the lead in this race, I don't think.
Here's Raging Bull, the number 1, second in the Fourstardave last year, got his graded win in the Shoemaker Mile. And after the Shoemaker Mile, we see him in the green silks on the outside in the Maker's Mark. He was the favorite this day, and he runs fine. I wonder if he handled the Keeneland surface as well as he handles others. He seemed like he was just kind of one-paced at the very end of this race. It's a bunched-up finish. Raging Bull is obviously a talented horse, but for me, he's the kind of horse where I really never want to take too short a price on him.
Yeah, I've always felt that way about him as well. He's certainly good. He went 0 for 5 last year. I guess you could make some excuses for those races. He's just not a horse that I've ever really been thrilled with. I do think he's come back better this year, though, Dan. Now, listen, everything went absolutely according to script for him in the Shoemaker Mile. They went a wicked pace in front of him, and he just steamrolled that field through the stretch. He looked good winning. I thought maybe he ran just as well last time. At the end of the day, the 1-2 finishers of that race, they just weren't coming back for him. He kept making up ground. He almost got there at the end. I thought he ran fine in that race. It doesn't mean I want to take him at a really short price in this field, Dan, but he's a major player in here. There's just no way. There's no two ways about it.
No, there's no doubt about it. He's a major player. He's going to be running late. It'll be interesting what price will be at post time. Casa Creed's going to be a big price at post time for trainer Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. He was a good 3-year-old. He won the Hall of Fame at Saratoga over the inner turf, going this distance last year. And then something must have happened because you don't put a sharp horse away after he wins a major race like that. His 2 races this year, okay. I give him one off the layoff, and then he just caught a very salty group in the Wise Dan. 3 next out winners. The winner factor, this came back to score with a 99 buyer. That's his 4th stakes win in a row.
Yeah, I think he did have a little bit of an excuse. It's funny because, he was always, I guess he was a little underrated as a 3-year-old. He was pretty good, especially when they switched him over to turf. And he has come back in his first 2 starts as a 4-year-old, and he's run the 2 fastest races of his life. That's what you want to see. He didn't win either of those races, but he has taken a step forward. He is stepping up into a really, really tough spot here, though. He's going to have to improve again.
M. House has always been a solid horse with good tactical speed. I never really thought of him as a grade 1 Saratoga stakes horse, but he ran 5th in the aforementioned Wise Dan, and he was relatively close, and he was only beaten a length in the Maker's Mark. He was beaten basically a half a length by Raging Bull. Is that somewhat of an indictment on the Maker's Mark field, or is M. House just in career best form right now?
Yeah, I feel like you could look at it the former way there. I just feel like if this horse, who, by the way, he ran pretty well in the Maker's Mark, but there was never a point in that race where it looked like he was going to win. And he was still within a length of those horses at the stretch. So I think you could look at it and say, you know what, maybe that race just wasn't that good. This is a pretty cool horse. I've been a fan of his actually since he got over here. I just don't like him in this race.
Maybe getting back to Saratoga is all that's going to got Stormy back over the hump. She really got good here last year, especially over the inner turf. Not only did she win the 4-Stardave, and she got a nice pace scenario that day to win it, as did Raging Bull, the runner-up, as did Uni, the horse coming from out of it. But she looked great in her prior start, the De La Rose, and that was just a week prior. She had a gigantic campaign last year. I wonder if it took some of the starch out of her. She hasn't been as good this year. Last time out in the poker, again, I couldn't find the excuse.
Me either, Dan. I don't really know what to say about her anymore. I guess if you like her and you want to bet her back in this race, you just have to hope that getting back to Saratoga, as you mentioned, is going to turn things around for her. The reason I'm a little skeptical of that happening is she happened to be in really good form early last year before she got to Saratoga, and then she just really exploded. She's been in terrible form this year. I don't even know any other way to put it. Her last two races are not good at all, and she's not beating this field if she shows up and runs one of those races.
I think Halliday will outfoot her to the early lead. And the number 5, talk about Got Stormy loving Saratoga. Halliday loves Gulfstream Park. 3 wins there, 2 triple-digit Beyer speed figures. And if you watch a couple of those races and you don't think he's just a Gulfstream horse for course, you think that maybe Halliday is knocking at the door of a major win. Now, in the Bernard Baruch, the horse that made the lead, Some Like It Hot Brown, outbroke Halliday. I think Halliday didn't give that horse enough respect. He just let Some Like It Hot Brown cruise along on the lead. He was not good, Halliday, because he attacked on the turn and he didn't have anything in the stretch. He's going to have to do a lot better. If he is to pull off an upset in a race like this, he's got to shake loose and he's got to hope turning back to a mile's what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, I guess those things could certainly happen. He ran a couple of fast races earlier this year. I don't know, Dan. I have a tough time buying into this horse. As you mentioned, he wasn't good last time. I know he conceded the lead, but it's not like he got a poor trip in that race. He just wasn't good. I said that about him, I feel like, several times in the past when he was losing races at relatively short prices. And I know that he won those 2 races, 2 and 3 back with fast figures, but both times just absolutely loose on the lead against, I don't know, I'm just going to say inferior competition. For some reason, I just don't get this horse.
Number 6, Uni, winner of the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. She has no problems beating up on the boys, and she was a good third in this race last year. Now, here's her seasonal debut off the long layoff, the Just a Game. She's down in the inside in the brown hat behind the winner, Newspaper of Record. And, Mike, this race just didn't set up for her. A, she already had the built-in excuse of the layoff. B, Newspaper of Record got loose, and really no one went after her, so Uni actually had to be the one making the first run, and she understandably flattened out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it too. I think it's pretty clear that it wasn't, her best performance. She probably wasn't super sharp in there, but you're right. She did have to make up ground around the turn. And by the time she got a look at Newspaper of Record on the lead, that horse was just getting started, Dan. They set Newspaper of Record down and she quickened away from that field right away. Uni had no chance to catch her in there. She did flatten out a little bit at the end. I think that's fine for her first start off the layoff, get a little tired. That might actually be perfect for her. Obviously, if she takes a step forward with that race behind her and runs one of her good races from last year, I think she's going to be really, really tough in here.
Valid point. The number 7 also goes out for Chad Brown. He doesn't have the credentials of the other big Chad threesome, but he's a grade 1 stakes winner at a mile. He won the Secretariat for 3-year-olds last year. And I think Chad has always had a lot of faith in this horse. He knows that this is a tough spot. He's throwing Valid Point in there. Valid Point, I think, gained a lot out of that poker. It wasn't the cleanest trip. It was his first start off of a layoff. If you're looking for a long shot, Valid Point, I think, might be the one.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. If I was going to take a horse on top who was going to be a bigger price in the race, it would definitely be him. And I say that, realizing he still has an awful lot to prove, Dan. He has looked good in his career. His last 2 races are sort of similar to each other because it looks like he didn't run well either time. I personally didn't think he got great trips either time. He was basically buried through the stretch in both of those races. It doesn't mean he's good enough to beat this field. He's going to have to improve, but I think this horse does have some talent. I'd be willing to give him another chance.
I'm a big fan of the 8 without parole. I'm starting to get a little bit tired of his act. He hasn't won a race in over 2 years now, but he had trouble in the Shoemaker Mile. You could argue that he would have been a lot closer to Raging Bull if he got a clean trip that day. He was down inside after getting bumped several times coming out of the gate. He had to alter course sharply. And in the Maker's Mark, he was running on at the end. Chad says this horse needs to be more tactically placed, and it's up to Irad to get him closer to the pace. He says this horse just cannot kick with the likes of a Uni and Raging Bull, and I'm not sure where that tactical speed's coming from.
I would worry about that as well. I mean, I will say it was, at least to me anyway, it was surprising to me in the Maker's Mark last time that he was actually behind Raging Bull early. I don't know how that happened, but you're right. Once he got behind that horse, there was no way he was going to catch him. We'll see what happens, Dan. He's not really my kind of horse, if only because just hasn't won in so long. And I realize that he's run okay in some of his races since he's gotten over here, but I'm not blown away with the races he's been running.
Chewing gum completes the field. You just get the feeling that Bill Mott's taking a shot here, wheeling back on 2 weeks rest, stretching all the way out after being the beaten favorite. He was the favorite in the Grade 3 Troy last time out. He had no speed sprinting. Maybe he can be a little bit up closer to the pace, but I think he's a one-run closer no matter what distance he's at, and this is a big step up in class. No disrespect to the nice horses he was in against in the Troy.
Listen, I respect them for taking a shot in this race. I mean, listen, you can't have Grade 1 turf races and have them be all Chad Brown. Other people have to run too. Chad, I like that they're taking a shot with this horse. He has won at a mile before. He's won at a mile on turf. He's won at a mile on dirt. So it's not like he can't get the distance. I just don't know if he can get it against Grade 1 horses.
Top pick time for the Grade 1 Fourstardave Handicap. I need Halliday to maybe drift up to at least 6-1, and that might even be light. I was surprised that David Aragona had him at 4-1 on the morning line. Maybe he's right about that. I just think with the four Pletchers in the four Browns in here, that this Pletcher trainee might actually drift a bit. I'm just hoping he gets loose and that maybe Uni has seen better days. But listen, it's a bit of a reach.
Listen, it's his best chance to win. It's just to put him on the front. He's got the right rider to do that. Luis Saez, he generally speaking does not play games with horses like this. I think he's going to put this horse on the front, and we'll see what happens. I'm going back to Uni, Dan. I'm just hoping that she needed that race off the layoff last time. This race will set up better for her, and I just expect her to come right. If she runs one of her good races, I personally think of the four Chads, she's the best one.
I agree. She's my second pick in here, and I think she's going to come running at the end. 5-6-8-1 for me, 6-1-7-8 for Mike. It's the Grade 1 Fourstardave Handicap. It's the feature race on a Saturday afternoon at the Spa, and it has an approximate post time of 5:46 Eastern. Best of luck.